You are about to receive messages that may be harmful to your mental state. Your sense of reality will be questioned. Your view on things will be altered. You are now part of the meta. The meta controls everything. The meta determines what will and will not happen. You are watching The Meta Show.
We're live! Yay!
And here we are. I can see
Yay!
a little bit of lines, but I think we're functional.
Yeah, that's just your yeah, that's fine. We're not worried about that. We're good. Yeah, you're good. You have a black background, which hasn't been that way in a bit. So
In total darkness, at least I'm not like pale like a vampire this time. Wow. So yes! We have 3-year sub badge. Jesus Christ.
That's amazing.
Yeah, 40 months, Kane Felmont. Thank you very much.
Oh, he's asking about it.
He's asking. He wants a 3-year sub.
Well, he's been there 40 months. I don't know what that is. It should work. And there's an omnibus with 3 years.
30 actually hitting 3 years. Jesus Christ. What am I drinking? I'm drinking coffee at the moment because I'm wired from all of the victory that we had earlier today. Both a Keepstar kill and an Alliance tournament sweep. We didn't just have victory merely for Goonswarm in the Alliance tournament. Every single Imperium Alliance won their Alliance tournament match today.
Yep. That's pretty amazing.
Which is pretty ridiculous. That is a lot of subs, guys. Rum Waffle, 45 months. Toastmaster, 27. I've got extra monitors now set up here, so I'm sort of craning my neck over here to keep track of this. Let me try to shake this up in a little bit more useful way here. Sorry.
Yeah, so like we have been continuing on this train of all we do is win, we're going to continue talking about the fact that we keep winning, and today's top story will feature winning in Lowsec, killing 2 Keepstars, and killing a bunch of Titans and Supers and all this other stuff. Well, also,
I think we're gonna have fun. I've already got a guy here who's like, "Can you really call a Keepstar a win?"
I don't know if
it was nothing to fight.
Look, I heard this during the fireside chat, and I want to quickly go on a little rant here about this before we go on.
For it.
For years now, since the announcement of Keepstars and all that stuff was coming into the game, and when they tried to eradicate us from existence, all they could talk about is once Keepstars go up, Goons will never be able to do anything. That's why they tried to do the Keepstar network with that one group that was a pseudo PL group, so they could move their supers around all of EVE without any risk. As we know now, the Manila Keepstar is owned by Ghost Legion, and Goons and Imperium people can't dock there because Pandemic Horde said so. We all know that these Keepstars were a farce, right? They weren't meant to be true to the whole idea of anybody can dock in them. No, they were designed specifically for our enemies to use. They've lost 2 of those. One is the Shadow Cartel Keepstar. This is where Shadow Cartel kept all its Titans, Supers, so on. And the Kanaka Keepstar, which belonged to Waffles. Again, that was part of the casino money that was used to drop a Keepstar in the name of Waffles. So that's a big deal. Kid says, it's weird how these Freeport Keepstars seem to be in direct line from MO to Cloud Ring for Supers. Yeah, well, who would have thought?
I have no idea how that could have worked out like that.
There's still we could have K-Color come on and talk about this, but I don't know if we tried the PM.
If he wants to.
Yeah, if he wants to, more than welcome. Come on, K-Color, come tell us about this. But yeah, so
has been doing a lot on this.
But it's interesting. They claim that these Keepstars are designed for this, but there's only 3 left. There's the Manila Keepstar. There's the Keepstar up by Lowsec, is it Arahonen or something like that, near Tribute. I don't know if that one's still there, but that's where like CO2 put all its Titans when they were dying. And then you have the Keepstar in Amamaki. Now Amamaki Keepstar would be a nice kill though. That'd be one that really hurt because a lot of people keep AT ships in there and a lot of fancy ships like that. So
I think it's kind of curious.
Hey, you're back. What's up?
You also have. I've been here the whole time. You also have the Vascaran Keepstar, but that's owned by I don't know what the alliance is called, but it's the Pope dude.
Oh well, he likes us, so it's not like he would use it to allow our enemies to move around. So we're gonna.
I
go
mean, we have
Oops, sorry.
to. I was just going to say, like, the interesting thing about this is because our enemies have chosen, reasonably so, to fight only under jammers, which if they had to deal with as many titans as were brought to the north, I would want to fight under jammers as well. They essentially have to argue that these keep stars don't matter. I am happy for the Imperium to continue to blow up keep stars, which our enemies spent tons of money putting down, and if they want to let us do it and tell us that it doesn't matter, that's awesome. The numbers on these Keepstar ops, clearly the people of the Imperium love killing Keepstars. Like the number of dudes that we are spitting out for these, undefended, totally doesn't matter at all, who cares, ha ha ha, you're just getting a Keepstar kill mail. Ops are just fantastic.
We'll talk about that in 2 seconds, because now I'm going to press buttons as we're going into the in-depth on the Keepstars. And our top story today is 2 Keepstar kills, one in Ashi and one in Kanaka. I'm going to link both those here for your viewing pleasure. Right away, the first thing I do want to share, though, about this is our enemy's masterful attempt to spin. If you've been watching Reddit in the last 24 to 48 hours, they've made this big push of goons aren't using their capitals. They just keep forming up and docking, forming up, docking, forming up, docking. Their pilots must be enraged. They've used some Reddit flare baiting where they post as a goon saying, look, I'm tired of my capital constantly being formed up and not doing anything, and then they forget about these 2 Keepstars. So if you're seeing that on Reddit recently, that's a lot of Reddit baiting, trying to make it sound like all our capital pilots are enraged and quitting and not playing the game. But you'll notice right away we had 1,500 people on the first Keepstar. That was in Asachi. And today we had 1,900 people on the Waffles Lowsec Keepstar. So
this guy is very insistent. At first I was taking him seriously. Nukra. Well, the DW Tech Keepstar was a letdown for the entire fleet. Sad face. I mean, the fact is that when you go to war, you're gonna have to. That's true, because we didn't.
I'll be honest. That first timer was, yeah, because we didn't know about that. We talked about it a couple weeks ago. But here's the thing, right? We talked about this during the Casino War, right? If our enemy, if we had all these Fortizars and Keepstars and everything online in Fortress Declan at the time, when we lived there, it would have been a hell of a lot harder to invade, right? Defending a Keepstar is very easy to do when you can time zone tank it. That's effectively what they're doing, right? You put it in a time zone you want it to come out in. It should not die. You should never lose a Keepstar in your time zone, ever. It should never happen, unless your alliance is falling apart.
Did we, I wasn't here last week, so I didn't get a chance to smug about this, but while I was away from my birthday, in addition to the UALX hilariousness, didn't we kill Gigex's Titan?
Yes, we're gonna get to that in a minute. We have a lot of smugging to do.
I don't have the menu.
You gotta. Oh, menu of the wait, we linked it on Discord. It's on Discord.
I gotta look at this. Sorry, this is my bad.
We have
like
unprofessional
here. I gotta bring it up.
As Billy points out, only if it's anchoring, or only if it's you're a dead alliance. So we look at Shadow Cartel's Keepstar dying. Nobody came to help them here. Shadow Cartel were staunch helpers in the Casino War, allies to the fullest. They have continued to fight for the other side since the Casino War in Lowsec. The only people left in Lowsec, and they lost their Keepstar. I believe a couple of Moa Corps went and joined them, if I remember correctly. Maybe I'm missing out on who that was. And then the Kanaka Keepstar, that's Waffles. Waffles, we dotted into PL and expected PL to save this, and they didn't save it. So, yeah,
so many tiers.
Also,
I now have the menu. I'm now going to go in order, guys. It's just so hard between the Alliance tournament, all the Keepstars, Gigex's Titan. It's just tough, guys. Like
also,
I can feel my wrinkles smoothing out.
Now he's 40. His brain doesn't work as fast as us young people.
That's true.
I also want to point out that this Keepstar death, belonging to both Waffles and Shadow Cartel, that's number 2 and number 3 of online fully gunned Keepstars to die in the face of staunch defending. They could have easily formed up, come over and defended it. Instead, they wanted to, as the way Right Rick put it, do ADM fleets and keep Declan strong again.
The thing is that sort of threw me was They didn't even try to harass us. On these ops, we had people DCing left and right. They didn't try to pipe down people that were disconnected.
Tie-dye.
Should I be saying this? I don't know if it's like, here's what you could have done, and you could have probably gotten like a super kill or two.
Oh, it's you can say it now because we already killed both of them, but like
We'll say it, Jay.
Yeah, go ahead.
What did they do wrong?
They could have. Well, they didn't show up. If they would have bought, I don't know, like tier 3 battle cruisers and a couple of probers and some hicks, they could have probed down someone that disconnected, tackled him, and then that would have been a problem for us.
One of the biggest concerns when you're assaulting a Keepstar is Keepstar mechanics, right? When Keepstars die, the game shits itself because tether breaks, all this shit blows up. The game does not like Keepstar deaths. It doesn't like Citadel deaths when you're killing Fortizars and shit. And so you have people crash all the time on Keepstar fights. We've had this. Falcon talked about this here on the show. He came by a couple times in the last couple weeks. The game just struggles with it, right? Because it's a new thing. The problem with low sec compared to like assaulting a Keepstar in 0-0 is you can't bubble yourself. Like you'll notice during the ULX fight, PL threw 1 billion bubbles on themselves. That's to keep your disconnects from warping off. You can't do that in low sec. Like if you have a tight disconnect and he can't say anything on comms because he just crashes on comms too, you're not gonna scram him with a Hector in time, and he's gonna warp off, and then he might die. They didn't even bring a fleet big enough to kill like a Ragnarok that was armor fit. I mean, it's very shocking.
Got an interesting question here in chat, which is why don't we take Guardians of the Galaxy and CO2 Sov and hand it out to anybody who wants it? And he says, I mean, Keepstars and Forts are awesome, but why not rub their face in it? And
okay,
that's a good question.
I can answer that if you want.
Well, I'm going to answer it.
Oh, perfect. Go ahead.
Because, you know, the issue is that taking Sov sucks, basically. Like the hacking process, which is something that the Imperium is doing now to go after iHubs to break jammers in the north, is taking Sov is just some of the worst gameplay that is in any major MMO. You know, Fozzie Sov is a sin against EVE Online as a whole. The gameplay mechanics are garbage, and nobody wants to do it. So again and again in these wars, you see very few entities really doing it. It's great to harass our enemies by using the Fremen to hack their Sov, but then actually taking the Sov, holding it, and you can't really hand it to somebody else. It's not like in Dominion where you could like right-click and transfer the Sov. You got to go through the whole hacking rigmarole. So for us, it's really about just punching downward. We're making more money than anybody. Querns was pointing out here in chat a few minutes ago that one of the reasons why he thinks our enemies have been so hesitant is that they don't have the ISK that we do. Like, we actually have played the game. We are engaging in PvE. We're not relying on casino dark money or exploits to get ISK. So, you know, they don't have cash anymore because they can't use their dark money.
I want to
can't afford it.
Point out something, and Eric said this many times. There's nobody left in the game that's willing to hold the space to actually be a Sov holding entity. And the game as it is right now, we could go in, wipe out every iHub, TCU, and Citadel, and all of Declan all the way to Tino. But if we don't want to live there, it's irrelevant. And we don't want to live there. Who the fuck wants to live in Declan right now? It's a shithole. It's got 5 midpoints to go from the bottom to the top. Like, you can't defend that shit with Supers and Titans. You can't have standing fleets. It doesn't work. So, nobody wants to live there. Hell, MOA broke up recently after transitioning to a PvE alliance because it was just a giant shithole, right? No one wanted to be there. So, if MOA doesn't want to be there, you ain't going to get anyone else to be there. They'd rather be renters. And you're seeing that. You're seeing people would rather be renters up in, like, Kesh, in the middle of fucking nowhere, and quietly bot and make money for overlords than they would hold Sov in a place right near Jeddah. So that's what you're seeing right now. I mean, a lot of people say, okay, well, what about CO2? Well, CO2 is just a giant meat shield. They put CO2 there because they're the last heartbeat that's available to stuff into a region. CO2 was building up nice and quiet in Vale the Silent. They were happy there. They were doing great things there. They were working with fighting Pandemic Horde all the time. And then all of a sudden, NC is like, look, we need somebody to stuff this space. We're sticking you there. Go. And that's what they did.
There's gonna be a point soon where CO2 become too big for Fade. Fade isn't a very big region, and CO2 isn't a small alliance. So they're gonna have to move, or they're gonna have to expand. So it just doesn't. I don't
think it's gonna happen though, because you look at the way CO2 is operating right now. They're doing 200-man fleets. They feel content being the the meat shield, right? You've heard Gigex talk about how he is excited at his new role. For those wondering, Gigex is playing. We're not talking about this hypothetical the Gigex. He's actually here, and that's going to be our next talking point. This is Mikatar, which is an Avatar pilot who was given to Gigex as soon as he came back to the game. I mean, I don't know about you, but when you have all of your assets and all of your stuff completely in band all together, I don't know how you end up in a Titan pretty quickly. But this was Gigex. We got the audio comms of this somewhere. I actually was looking.
Yeah,
but
we've got multiple sources saying it's Gigex. Like
Gigex himself said it.
Yeah, he admitted it.
Yeah, he openly admitted that this was his Titan. That he tried to boson our fleet. He missed. You can't boson in range of 100 Titans and expect it to go well. It just doesn't work. NC's been trying it for a week.
I'm not sure if he knew that our Titan fleet was midded, or I mean, if he didn't know, then that's poor scouting because it's not exactly a small fleet.
I don't know. This is a character for those that have been watching the North fight. This is a character that's been trying to do bosoning for the last couple weeks before he died. Right. He had done it to very successfully to Space Violence, wiped out a Space Violence fleet with a boson that they weren't expecting. He's been trying to do it with that character. Gigex himself, he is pretty cavalier with his stuff. As Craig's mentioned, they don't have a lot of money up there, but Gigex himself don't give a fuck, right? This is why he got banned in the first place, because he doesn't care what he says, doesn't care what he does. Except for sometimes it has consequences. In this case, he lost an avatar.
He's like the Gary Busey of EVE.
Yes! Yes, he is! If Gary Busey was Serbian, that would be... or Charlie Sheen. Charlie Sheen would be another example.
Charlie Sheen is a fairly rational actor when he's not on cocaine.
Right,
Gary Busey literally has brain damage from that motorcycle accident and can't control himself. So you know.
Oh.
Yeah.
That's actually kind of hilarious in a way. But we recently had an argument, and I wish Kate Color was here to verify this. Where when talking to Sebastian, you're gonna like this, Mins, because I don't know if you heard about this. When talking to Sebastian, of course, is an old friend of ours who is in CO2, and we kind of regret his decision to stay there. But his defense for being there is Gigex never treated Blarf badly, and that's why he'll stay in CO2 forever. And I'm like, okay. So I don't know.
There's some really weird personality.
Right, Rick is okay. Yeah, that one is pretty funny. Big Bill the Boss says, "Right, Rick is Alex Jones."
That fits really well. I think that's
all right. So, and I guess I could share some information. So some people said Declan doesn't look like it's ready very much.
Wait.
Oh, we're not there yet. Fuck. Okay, gotta go to the next thing. Right, we gotta talk about Snuffbox now. We gotta dote on Snuffbox, right, Jay? Is that where we're at now?
Yeah, my boy Jonas, he killed a bunch of Titans, and that's his shout out.
Okay, so tell us about this, Jay, because you know Snuffbox better than both of us. So,
as far as I can tell, there was a Tau fleet, and Tau AD is a best FC and stuff.
Yeah.
Part 1 to number 2. And he noticed that there was a NPC Sotio, like the Garistas one. I think it was the Garistas one. And so Ghost Legion were looking at running it with some Supers and Titans, and they dropped on them. And they caught, it was 3 Titans and 3 Supers and a bunch of Dreads.
All right.
Yeah, that's what it looks like here. 3 Titans.
Yeah, that's what happened.
Yeah, 2 Avatars, 1 Erebus, and 3 Nyxes.
Yeah. So they caught them. They caught them on this site. So they jump in Fax, and if you watch the video, I don't have the video in front of me right now, but you can search for it. It's a pretty great video by Tau ID. They drop in Faxes, and this is what CCP is talking about when CCP wants to nerf them. We heard Falcon talk about this a little bit this past couple weeks on here, and there's a post about this. They're looking to nerf Faxes, and the reason is if you watch this video, they're breaking an Erebus, and then all of a sudden Fax reps start hitting. And they can't break the Erebus any longer. And they dropped the equivalent, like their Dread Force, they dropped on this with carriers, what was outnumbering the Fax like 5-6 to 1. Those Faxes.
Dropped 37 Dreads.
Yeah, versus 8 Faxes. they couldn't break those faxes, so they had to go in and kill the faxes individually. Then they started killing the Titans. They did have a subcap fleet. Ghost Legion, for those that don't know, they're the guys that kind of run Brothers of Tangra now. All old casino people that didn't get banned. Anyone that from the casino war that were part of the casinos that didn't get banned went into Ghost Legion, so that's who they are. So Ghost Legion, subcaps warped in, but instead of warping to where the fight was happening, they landed at 0 on the structure, like the raid event, and it spawned a shitload of NPC dreads that just started vaporizing subcaps. So instead of warping in to save their guys, they landed at 0 and caused a gigantic fucking mess. So, do we have any mods in channel? Yes, we do. Why?
Oh God, I hope we do. I hope we have mods, please.
One thing
Please
you
come. I haven't
notice
shouted anybody
here,
yet.
that hasn't really been spoken about too much, is that because Ghost Legion is blue to Brothers of Tangra, and they're renters. Renters are kind of easy to get, spies into, and the hostile dictators. So, like, most of the dictators that were bubbling the Titans were Brothers of Tangra dictators. That were just, like, alts that were put in there.
Yeah, so, that brings me to another Snuffbox Dread fight that just happened. So here we go. This just happened yesterday during Russian time zone. You'll notice on this battle report I just linked, everybody is on the blue side. And the reason for that is I have no fucking clue who was shooting who. There were 4 separate Dread fleets that dropped into that fight. And as we watched the fight happen, it kept looking like, oh, this Dread fleet's helping this guy. And then another Dread fleet would drop in and shoot those guys. Another Dread fleet would drop in and shoot those guys. So you had like a 4-way fight going on. No fucking clue who was on whose side. All I know is that a Titan died at a shitload of Dreads. And it was worth like 300 billion-isk. The fight was originally over a Keepstar, the Keepstar belonging to some Russians. From what I'm hearing from reports is that Dream Fleet and Red Alliance had a falling out. That's the report I heard. I don't know how true that is. And that's what sparked this, and then it just led to everybody just fucking showing up, including the DRF and Serbian squads. Basically, all the Russians just kind of crawled out of the woodwork here to fight for this fight. So that was a cool little battle report with Snuff. But yeah, Snuff's been throwing dreads around and spies around pretty hilariously up in the north and the east. So that's been fun to watch.
The Kings of Losec. So,
well, I mean, not Losec anymore, but
the Kings of Nullsec then maybe.
Yeah, I don't know. I kind of want to smug more, but I'm trying to think of how to word this. So, right, Rick, recently...
Don't worry, we have oh, I was going to say we have more things to smug about.
Well, yeah, we'll get to that.
The menu here.
We're talking about 0-0 right now, and since we're talking about the north, I want to bring us back to the north. Right, Rick recently has gone on a posting tirade. He's been posting on Reddit. Every time there's just a minor victory, he goes on a big after-action report that is pages long.
Slice guy?
Slice CEO. He's known as Alpha Marie on Reddit, for those that haven't seen it.
Oh, this is the sock puppet dude. This is the guy who makes a whole bunch of different accounts to post on Reddit. But it's
right, yes. So he tries to hide his accounts. The problem is the mods all know whose accounts are, and then they kind of out him every once in a while. His own mods, by the way. It's kind of hilarious. But anyway, Right Rick likes to spin. And boy, does he spin it well. And lately, he's been doing a very targeted spinning against the NGSA. For those that remember, the NGSA is the Goon AFK cloaking camping group. He has spun the narrative recently that because Goons are failing to camp Declan successfully, they've started camping Pureblind and Fade. I really don't understand how that works. And at the same time he is claiming that the AFK camping is failing, he's also started running ADM fleets on a nightly basis to keep the ADMs up that are starting to collapse in the face of AFK camping. So I don't know how that works. I don't know how you can say...
I think the narrative is we have so many people who want to ruin your space and ruin your line members' income that we just don't know where to put them, so we've expanded to other regions now.
Yeah, we went from 68 systems to 89, and we actually went up in numbers. So the official numbers right now are 402 people, either online or offline, in their assigned system.
I'm really excited about the NGSA program because while I was on vacation, the guys' boat and crew expanded it to include bounties for hacking, and we were talking about the Freeman project today on the Fireside, And Boat pointed out that NGSA had already encountered and implemented bounties for hacking iHubs. So now everybody who is involved in the NGSA project can get rich while not just interdicting people who are trying to rat and mine, but also hacking iHubs.
Something that needs to be pointed out here, and we don't talk about this because it's been happening over a period of months, is that this northern war of aggression by us started with SIGs and squads months ago. We've been talking about it on this show for a while now. And some of the key points of this war in the north is Hendrik Kali rage quit. That's the GOTG senior FC. Him rage quitting forced them to have to do combined coalition fleets, which makes it really easy to fuck with NC Dot because they let Pandemic Horde in their fleets.
Can I talk about something related to this?
Oh, please, yes, go ahead.
Okay, so Dank Leaks here, but I think GOTG doesn't have any FCs to run their fleets anymore, or they're not getting the numbers, because every form up I've seen this week on my GOTG character, we've been told, hey guys, get in fleet, and then like 5 minutes later it's, oh, we're going to join the NC Dot fleet because we need more numbers. So they're merging with NC Dot. They haven't really had any FCs. They've had one guy mostly FCing their fleets, and even then they're struggling to get numbers.
They're starting to show FCs I've never heard of before, and outside of Riot Rick occasionally FCing for them, but it's hard for him to do that because he's Australian time zone and like Chinese time zone, like it's a dead zone for them. They haven't had any FCs, so they started doing coalition ops under NC. But the problem with that is as we all know, NC is a pretty tight-knit group. It's pretty hard to stick a spy in NC. But when you allow Pandemic Horde and GOTG and CO2 to join your fleets, now you've just opened the floodgates to a potential, pointing the FC as they go to warp out, or just a random bubble when they go to warp out. You know what I mean? So it's bad for them.
The thing is, they're still not filling these fleets, even with NC and whatnot. So, like, the other day, we were formed up. Well, not we were formed, and our spy said, oh, we're forming with NC again on our fleet. And they Horde pinged as well to join the NC fleet. So everyone was getting into this NC Dot fleet, and they still didn't fill it. They had like 189 people in the fleet, and this was like pinging 2 or 3 times to GOTG to join this fleet.
Yeah, I want to take a moment here and play Asher for a bit. Every time Asher comes on the show, he tries to be devil's advocate and tries to argue the other side and to give us a bit of why. If they can't form enough, which is what we're seeing. We're seeing this in Euro time. We're seeing this in US time. I've been there to reinforce a Keepstar with 0 people being involved at all. What is causing them to still hold their structures alive? And that structures, I mean Keepstars. Sorry. Anyone? Jay? Hello?
Sorry, I was trying to figure out what this person was doing.
Something.
What was that? Sorry?
I saw somebody that I might get to ban, and I can't
ban them! Please, go ahead.
Well, I can't tell whether he's actually like a hostile who's dribbling out the mouth, or whether
give me the name and I'll tell you.
English. No, no. I want to keep it a surprise. We'll see.
Well, there is a guy in there that I do enjoy his commentary, and he's the only probably NC Dot that I enjoy besides Killer B, and that's Corgius God. He's a pretty chill guy.
No, Corcus God, I haven't. No, he's
a pretty chill guy. But anyway, you're seeing a situation, and you see this in the South, I think, that they only have so many people, so they have to form everything they have in a very small time zone. And this reminds me of when we used to fight Bob, and I think the role is reversed now that we've learned that the +1 can be a good thing. Back in the time when I was fighting Bob, we only got to play for a couple hours a day. We had the time, all of our structures, XDZ and I used to have to rage form people and defend structures and fight for this very small amount of time that we could control, right? And it was usually US Prime. And it feels like that's the way the game has gone now. You have time zone tanking, by far is the #1 thing, the most important thing in this game. Time everything for downtime if you don't want fights, if you don't want to lose, and figure it out. Now the question is what happens when you time everything for downtime, and that one time that all of the South rage forms 3,000 people at downtime? then what happens to them? Does that ruin their strategy? Does that ruin their plans?
Well, it's not sustainable over the long term. Like, they could do that, and we could form everybody and go after them. But we saw this in the Fountain War. We've seen this in a lot of wars. You can definitely hellform everybody for a few major things. Like if it's a keep star kill and it's time for Australian time zone, you could definitely have everybody do an alarm clock for that. I think what's really going to happen here, even with time zone taking, hacking causes issues. And it burns out. It puts all of the obligation of the defense of the alliance on a few people. So I think what we're going to see here is, the Imperium. Our strategy isn't a secret. We're just going to keep running around, blowing up keep stars while harassing these iHubs. We're going to escalate the pressure on the iHubs. We're going to force the enemy to constantly form up with everything that they have, because if they don't, then we pop the hubs, the jammers go down, and we get to kill more keep stars. And meanwhile, we're going to expand the program of hacking and the excellent NGSA thing that Bode and crew came up with. The goal here for us is to just keep the money. Since our enemies have never developed a way to make money that wasn't exploited or dark money from casinos, and now they can't do that, we're seeing that every day that goes by that we make money and they don't.
That's actually a key point here. The fact when you have to run ADM fleets, when you've owned the space for 2 years, that's a concerning thing. Okay, Goons did ADM fleets when we first took Delve for like a month or two. That was just because we didn't have the ADMs at the time. Because
it was like we did ADM fleets for like 2 weeks so we could get G-Sol to install the upgrades, and that was it.
Right, so that was something you do when you first move into a place. They've owned the place for 2 years. Nobody's fucked with them until recently with the SIGs and squads for years. Monthly jammer cost is, I think it's 150 million a month per system. So if you jam,
if 500 upgrade costs.
It's what?
600 mil a month, Quan said.
Per system.
Okay, so Corns is the expert on this. So essentially, every time every moment that we have that our enemies are jamming everything up in a scenario where they can't rely on casino money, it's hilarious.
It's better though. It's not just jamming it. Just having the iHub mod installed is the 600 mil. So even if they're not jamming the system, they probably have the iHub mod installed in every system. So that's, let's just say we'll use the NGSA numbers. That's 90 systems at 600 mil. So that's 54 bill a month they're having to pay just to keep these systems jammed. That's expensive as fuck. Like,
that's fantastic. Anything that we can use to bankrupt our enemies is a good thing.
But speaking of NGSA, right, Rick's big sell point for this is, guys, grab VNIs, grab Procurers, go rat and mine in these little-ass ships. Goons won't do anything about it. I want to point this out. Normally I don't say, hey, here's how you beat Goons. That's not the way to do it. Okay? Putting stabs on your VNIs does not make you enough money a month. We've already figured out that all of Declan is producing about 30 bill a month. That's it. That's all they're producing.
What?
Yeah, we figured this out already. In the last month, on average, on a daily basis, one system in Delve is producing as much as the entirety of Declan is. Thanks to the MER and Dotland. Dotland, we had a guy run calculations on Dotland on a 24-hour basis over a month period. You cannot sustain something over month after month after month after month of this, right? Like, a lot of people look at this and go, "Oh, Goons are winning, low sec. Who cares?" But it's a sustained thing. How long can they sustain month after month after month? We know one thing, and that's KOS. KOS is one of the alliances in GOTG. They're fucking broke. Like, this shit just got started and they're broke. I missed the Big Bill thing. What do you do?
Big Bill the boss just had an Elon Musk where it was the galaxy mining and ratting revenue slopes worse than Tesla stock after an Elon Musk tweet.
I was going to make a Facebook joke. The NGSA replaces the ability of Facebook to leak user data to advertisers, but that works just as well.
Wow. Okay, so we got some questions. People are talking about the Alliance tournament. We should probably move on.
Yes! To let me find how you did this. Okay, you did it like this. So let me press this button.
And Solo Tries, I don't know how to say your name right, has got a YouTube link of the snuffed out kill, which is pretty awesome.
Yes, let me relink that for you. All right, so while you're doing the getting ready to talk about the AT, I have something to put on screen. So you go ahead and start talking about the AT. What happened? What the hell?
Like while you're getting ready to talk about the AT and then silent.
No. Oh fuck. Sorry. You talk about the AT. I have a cool video to show while you're talking.
Okay. Is it a video from the AT or is it just something
Correct.
else? Okay, cool. So the Alliance tournament. You know, this was a really cool experience. I've never been on an Alliance tournament before, and everything about what I did in the Alliance tournament today is just stuff that Asher gave me and told me what to do. We don't want people to think that I actually play EVE Online.
It was hilarious. Asher was like, "Yo, Mittens, are you coming?" And I was like, "Wait, is he actually going to the AT?"
Yep. So yeah, that was okay. We're trying to get the view of me.
Ah! I made it too big. Hang on. Fuck. Hold on. I'll shrink it.
We're gonna let Boat figure this
Well,
out.
I was trying to get there. Got it. Here we go. I wanted to show you on screen. That's what we did. So we did it. So high five.
They had a. It was interesting. Apparently, after the stream, I was linked by Asher. They actually made like a whole graphic of here's the Mittani's Augur Navy issue. It was such a.
Yep.
You know, I guess I should have expected it, but I didn't really think that people would freak out as much about me.
There we go.
Showing up on the AT. But essentially, what happened here was this. I want to say that I was really impressed by how professional our crew is for the AT. I've never participated in one before, but they had. Actually, I'm not going to say what they had because we're still in the AT, and so never mind.
Yes,
all I can say is that they were very professional, and Asher suggested this. I can say. Asher has suggested this, I think, actually even a year ago. This is not the first time Asher suggested it, but it's the first time that I was like, oh, okay, sure, I'll do it. Why not? Was to have me in the Alliance tournament. And with the assumption that everybody would look at me and assume, you know, and go after me if I had a heavily tanked ship. So in a tournament scenario, they would not go after the Augur Navy issue because they would assume that it was bait and that I was hell tanked. And so we had a full DPS polarized fit. And my entire purpose was just to get on top of things and beat them to death. Now, we ran into some challenges here because Lumpy ran a kiting setup. So we were expecting at first they went all DPS, and we're like, oh, okay, we're going to get right on top of them. But they kited, so unfortunately my Augur didn't really get a chance to get right on top of people. But I did at least know how to change my ammo to Scorch instead of Conflag. So that's so...
That's
you know,
great.
we had a little bit of a tank. I mean, we had you know, 2 1600s and an EANM on the ANI. But I have no idea. Like I didn't fit the thing.
What's really funny?
Handed it and told what to do.
That's a layering membrane. So the layering membrane gives you more armor. It's not an ENAM, it's an EALM.
Oh, okay.
Because it just gives you raw armor. So what happens is he was polarized fit. For those that don't know, polarization removes all resistances, sets you at resist 0. You see them on bombers because a lot of bomber EHP comes from its raw shields, not the resistance profile, even though it's a T2 ship. So in this case, they did the old bait and switch. And actually, what's really interesting about this, too, is that Wild is one of the guys that's been helping with the AT team. He did this in a match once, where he, not for the AT, but for the Imperium match, where they made the ANI polarized. The thing about ANIs is you look at an ANI and go, oh shit, an ANI is going to have this gigantic 100,000 EHP tank. It's not going to be killable. We'll save it to last. It's probably their tackler, right? Well, in this case, it wasn't. It was a lot of damage, and it worked out really well.
Yeah, I was really pleased. They didn't actually start hitting me until, I mean, fuck, it was at the midpoint of the match. I was kind of surprised how well it worked, because of course, as soon as any sort of DPS was applied to this thing, it just vaporized. But yeah, the multi, to answer Master Rawl's question, the multi, you know, 4th dimensional chess game there of bluff and a double bluff was all Asher's. That was fantastic.
Yeah,
so credit to him.
There was a lot of heavy lifting
I
going
looked
on.
like I was metagaming, and I got credit on the stream for metagaming, but actually all of the credit for this ship I was flying and psyching everybody out was Asher.
Yeah, it's not something that could work again. That's for sure. Like we know that. We're also starting to see the prevalence of the Viduk. I call it a Viduk because I like calling it Viduk, but it's actually a Vedmak. ships like that are really powerful. Lesheks, they provide a constant DPS that increases as you sit on top of someone, and they can be quite disgusting. You got to kill them quickly. So the AT is looking pretty hilarious, but what's more hilarious than the fact that Mittens was participating and that we won is not only did Goons win their match, the entire Imperium swept the Alliance tournament. Every team the Imperium fielded this year won their first round in a first for the AT. Goons have never, as part of a coalition, won a first round like that. That's never happened. Now, the second round's going to be really hard for Goons. We got Skill U, and there's some other difficult matches. But for the fact that we won our first match, that's a big fucking deal. Like, that's never happened. So for a lot of people... Oh, sorry.
It was certainly cool to have, you know, my first and so far only AT experience be a victory. It was a really intense match too. Like, credit to Lumpy on this. Like, it was a nail biter. It did not seem, you know, once we had lost our initial pile of ships, it really seemed like, you know, we could have lost it. Right. And the commentators called it. They thought that we were going to lose it, but then we came from behind and murdered everything.
Yeah, so it's a big deal. A lot of people, like, I guess not a lot of people can really attest. A lot of people say, oh, you won the first round, no big deal. But the first round is a big deal because a lot of teams that were expected to go far already lost in the very first round of this tournament. Like, for example, the team that we beat, Lumpy, did really well last year and made it all the way to the, I think, quarterfinals or semifinals or something like that. They went really far. They lost. That was not expected. We weren't expected to beat Lumpy, and a lot of people.
Yeah, that's right. I saw the commentators said that when people were choosing who was going to win, like the public votes, like something like only 300 people thought that Goonswarm would win.
Yeah, Goons weren't supposed to win that. Darwinism is known for its low, like, small gang PvP, and we want your ISK beat them, which was again surprising. Phage and Terror, they're part of the GOTG group. They've been hunting Goons for a while now. They're elite PvP small group. They lost to Of Sound Mind. Not only did we sweep, the North didn't look like it did very well. I believe I saw a match where Chaos Theory got crushed by Brave, which is, I mean, obviously not surprising. Brave is really good at this game. All those newbies. So yeah, it's been fun to watch. I only watched a couple matches though.
If folks want to ask questions or things like that, we have gone into Cool Kids Only, subscribers only mode, like we do for the last 15 minutes of every meta. It's good shit. Also, having the match playing in the background is fun.
I do want to also take a moment to point out that we had a Vendetta die. Phage and Terror is Snig's training corps. Okay, so that makes sense then. So it's basically PL Light. Oh, wait, that didn't work. Hold on. So we had a Vendetta die from PL. Now, Cake... no, not Cake Killer, wow. Jay, you might be able to attest as to who this guy is, but he apparently is known for dropping Hin Hakonnen quite frequently with his really, really expensive faction Nyx. And he got caught, and he got murdered. And the really hilarious thing about this, and Mittens, I never understood this, so maybe you can explain this to me, because I don't understand why people do this, but PL tried to kick him to keep the kill mail from appearing on their kill board, and then as soon as he died, they brought him back in, but they didn't kick him fast enough, so he got on the kill mail anyway. Why do people do this? Like, I don't understand.
Because they're weak and thin-skinned. I mean, that's basically what it is. Like, that is one of the things that's curious to me about the elite PvP alliances, where they're so obsessed with their kill board, and they feel it's like if you see your buddy trip and fall, your penis doesn't shrink. Like, your dick isn't going to shrink just because your friend stumbles and fucks something up. You go help your buddy out, you know, make sure that he's okay.
Right.
But it doesn't impact your success as a person. But, you know, these alliances, it really is an Achilles heel. They end up with a glass jaw. Like, that
is a great way to put this analogy. And I love that analogy because I like to think of it like this. You're watching your buddy in a fight. As soon as your buddy gets hit in the jaw so hard that it knocks him out cold, you turn around and walk away and act like he wasn't your friend. That's PL
I didn't know
in
that
this
guy.
situation.
I didn't know that guy.
I have
He's
no
not with me.
association with him.
I win all the fights I start.
Right,
Yeah,
exactly.
Like, it's just shitty. It's so shitty. Like that's I think one of the reasons why you saw like it creates a toxic environment. I think that's one of the reasons why you saw, when Headliner had that fight with a guy who lost the Rorqual that resulted in PL shit all getting cleared out. It's that culture of I'm your friend when it's good, but fuck you when times are tough.
We're seeing that pretty heavily. Recently, there's a group called Blades of Grass, whose values make them better. They're helping PL in the South. Okay, they're working with Skill U and PL and all these people in the South. We watched them lose Dreads and Carriers and Supers in the South in the UALX Hell Camp. But the thing about them that's very interesting is they would never be down there in that situation if PL and NC hadn't told you GOTG to kick them out of branch to begin with. So, it's weird as fuck to see groups like that still working for and with PL and NC Dot. I don't understand the psychosis behind that obsessive behavior, but maybe you guys could explain that to me.
I think it's just sort of a matter of drift. Like an entity like Blades of Grass isn't going to be able to take space of their own. So they have to, kowtow to whatever overlord is around them. And the fact of the matter is that because Blades of Grass are traitors to the Imperium, it's not like they can come to us to get anything other than lasers in their face. So, maybe they could go to the Russians, maybe they could go to Legacy Coalition, but they certainly, they sort of have to pick whatever is the local apex force that they want to get behind. And, that's one of the reasons, like, PL and NC have selected over years for people who are just going to be lickspittles in these, like, little alliances that will follow them around or just will take it. In many cases, they're not actually lickspittles. In many cases, what you have is individual line members that just don't care about the alliance. They're in it to make money for themselves. They're in it for their corporation, but they don't really care about the alliance. So they aren't bound. They're not sitting around going like, well, I'm a member of Blades of Grass. They're like, well, I'm part of this corporation and these guys are my friends and my corporation needs to make ISK and so we're over here and I guess we're in this Blades of Grass alliance, right? And so
they're the people that never assimilate, right? They never get involved into the culture that is that alliance. Would that make perfect sense? Because the leaders of Blades of Grass are kind of nutty. We've seen them.
Yeah, the leaders can be kind of like lickspittles, because the leaders are the ones who are sitting around and going like, yeah, hey, like, I'm just going to follow these guys around and get shat on all the time. But I think for the line members, I'm more sympathetic towards the line members, because the line members are usually just there for their friends and their corporation, and they're not really thinking, it's not like in the Imperium or in Legacy Coalition or in PL or NC Dot, where there's more of an identification with the idea of an alliance.
Yeah, so here's something that's speaking of which, Villy says, just to let everyone know, right when we were talking, Jay Mazinus, about them being unable to make their own fleets, Pandemic Legion, or not Pandemic Legion, GOTG was told that they needed to join the NC Dot fleet because they didn't have enough Feroxes on their own. So right in the middle of us saying this, I got a report from a friend, and he's a very, very reliable friend, with this intel, says that they were forced to join the NC fleet. They could not form enough at 4:50 in the afternoon on Eastern time. But
we have another.
They didn't have enough numbers in that fleet either. Now they're reshipping to Claws.
Oh wow!
Oh my god!
That's excellent, Jay. So also another thing, Villy, I want to give Villy a shout out for continually educating us in the middle of the show and being occasionally an awesome guest.
Yeah, he came on last week in your place, and it was
sweet.
I could not tell if he was involved in some excitement as I was. Like, he sounded more excited than I was.
He pinged me about the Sinojammer stuff, and he says that to turn the mod on, it's 800 million a month total, and you can turn the mod off for Sinojammers at any time, but to restart it costs 800 million again, and it cycles once a month. Ooh. So essentially, this is something that, to show sort of a strategic weakness on our part, we weren't even really thinking about that. Like, I wasn't sitting there going, man, these jammers are drained. These guys don't have casino anymore. They can't rely on cheated, exploited ISK to get their ships made out of thin air for free. I didn't think that, just holding them there with having to jam the entire North the more that we can force these guys to jam the North, the more that they're going to bankrupt themselves. That's fucking beautiful. And of course, it comes out of as RDevs from GSOL points out here, the money that comes if you want to online a hub. The money to put that upgrade online comes out of the wallet of the person onlining the mod. So they need to be giving their logistics people 800 million ISK to turn this on, or because their organization sucks, more likely, there's a few people in their Logi team who are getting burnt out and fought.
A guy in chat says Geo2G and Pete Horde had just had pings of shut the fuck up on NC.coms. On NC.coms, there is no need to hear you. He says he wishes he could copy paste it, but you know, that's would get him probably kicked.
Yeah, well, that's one of those things. Like NC. is really like the babysitter here. What has happened strategically is that the for the first time, PL has separated from NC. Which is one of the reasons why we see this as such a big opportunity from the Imperium side. You know, we would love to kill NC. Supers, which is unfortunately why they're hiding behind these jammers. And fair point to them, but
I'm picturing Vince's face when PL told him, "We're going south. Have fun babysitting the renters." Like, imagine the reaction of him going, "Fuck! Why do I have to be stuck doing this?" Killa B, Vince Draken, Travis. These are people who really enjoy their anonymity within NC and being within NC, like being within their own little group. And now they have to invite Pandemic Horde and Geo2G into fleets. Do you imagine, like, all this elitism just goes out the window when you have to do that?
Well, I think it could happen.
When we deployed up here, Killa B was smuggling like I'm going to get 1,000 fuel marks on my Vanquisher, and he hasn't undocked it once.
So here's my question, and this is another one that's an interesting one, is what happens to NC with all this? Like, eventually, you're going to have brain drain. Like, you're going to have these same guys who just can't stand being on comms with the types of people that say our values make us different. How does that end up working out at the end of the day? Like, with goons, everyone within the Imperium is pretty much assimilated in one way or another if they're going on fleets, right? So you have these people who understand the culture behind it and aren't going to be giant dickheads, is the best way to put it. But when you're babysitting groups that you don't like dealing with, as you can tell by them telling them that they don't need to hear their voices, how do you eventually deal with that over a long period of time? It doesn't feel like it would work.
It's really going to be a challenge for them culturally, because the purpose of NC. is to be sort of like slightly less elite, like number 2, second fiddle to PL, basically. And so the people who are attracted to an organization like NC. Are not signing up to be empire builders or to hold empires. They want to run around, get kill mails, and have a sexy looking kill board. So, you know, I think what you're going to see happen here is some of what we're already seeing is, gradually speaking, people will just stop turning up for fleets from NC. If they are going, wow, it's another day where I've got to do everything for Sort Dragon and his gaggle of idiots, they're just going to, oh, well, I've got to spend time with my family, or, oh, I got a new job, or, oh, you know, I'm watching all of Westworld Season 2 at once rather than going on this op, right? They'll just find something better.
Right, I feel like it's like a situation we were in where if, like, the person can't hold themselves up, what's the point of propping them up?
Yeah, we suffered the same thing. Yeah, like in the Casino War, like there was a huge cultural difference between some of the people in SMA. There was a lot of people in SMA who were really cool and joined Goonswarm, and we love to have them. Right. But there was a cultural disconnect there, and we found that because SMA couldn't stand for themselves, and we were constantly trying to deal with that, there was cultural friction, and that caused a participation issue. So
you see that all around
the shoes on the other foot. Yeah.
You see that in a situation where, like, the people who don't assimilate lose supers ratting because they don't tell you that they're going to be tackled, or like Rorquals will die. Like, I never understood how Rorqual could die unless you just strictly could not save them because you couldn't get enough people. But you see this in the North where they can't even have a standing fleet to protect their own ratters and miners. They don't have one. They do it like 2 hours a day maybe, but they don't have the capacity to do that. That's a kind of an alliance that does not fund long-term wars. A lot of people look for instant gratification nowadays. With the technology age the way it is, But you can't fund a long-term war on that. Your alliance is not making any money on taxes. Your moons are not being fracked in mines, so your alliance is not getting any income from that. There was a big push, Mittens, and you weren't here for this, I don't think, where some of our enemies in the south part of this whole northern block, they want moons to be mined at half. So half of it can be mined by everyone, the other half of it's automated. And I think that's why
to go back to a system where they don't have to do any work.
Because you're seeing that in the north, where Declan's moons are not being mined. There are, what, a shitload of R64 capable moons that are not being mined. Period.
Yeah,
so
well, they don't want to do work. They're used to, like, that's just what it is. They feel entitled to have ISK for free. That entire coalition has relied upon ISK that was cheated being given to them for years. And so the idea, either, you know, the ISK that they got that was legitimate, that wasn't dark money, was mined passively by moon miners, and so they wouldn't have to actually do any work to get that. And the ISK that they got that was illegitimate, which was the vast majority of it, came from casinos, which got banned. So this entire set of our enemies has an expectation that they deserve to just have money handed to them on a platter without having to do any goddamn work for it.
Yeah, I think that's another key point here. A lot of people tend to forget too is that before, so you have renter income, which again is a type of income that, unless somebody wants to live in this space, isn't really going to be hindered in any way. Renters are still going to pay even if renters themselves don't make any money. Passive moon mining and casino money. And before the big casino, which was Iwan ISK, they had 2 other casinos that they did that were successful until CCP shut them down for one reason or another. So you're in a situation where there's constant looking for ways to make passive money. I think it's Skill U now is making the big push for the half and half, but CCP's not going to do it. They want you to make the money that you own. Goons find it very easy to mine their moons. I don't understand why it's so difficult to mine moons. But maybe it comes back to an age of what was happening before this war. Eric talked about everyone else was fighting wars. They didn't set up the infrastructure. And when you don't set up the infrastructure to mine the moons, it's very hard to mine the moons. And it looks like the whole north is just not mining their moons except for the renters. And that, you know, renters will make money, but not you.
Yeah, I think this entire thing is just really quite curious to see what happens. You know, I'm wondering whether our enemies are going to be shying away from things just because we keep throwing down keep stars. That's always another thing that's fun, is to actually be able to throw around the amount of money that we have as a coalition to just put down keep star after keep star to swing around all these titans. And, you know, the main thing is, you know, just that our enemies aren't earning anything. So every single day that goes by, we get stronger.
Another quick thing to point out too, because we're almost out of time here, and Jay maybe can comment on this. A lot of the dark money got removed, when that was true. A lot of the casino ISK was taken out, but not the assets purchased with that ISK. They didn't go in and take away the Vanquisher that Killaby owns. They didn't go in and take away the Erebuses and the Avatars and the Nyxes and the Aeons that were purchased with this money. They didn't take that away because that would be hurting somebody who benefited, who had no idea that this money was dirty. But they took away the ISK. Go ahead,
when like the last few days it was like people were planning something like this to happen inside I Want ISK, and they started using the ISK they made to buy assets. They were buying skill injectors or Plex or
keep stars.
Yeah, keep stars, Titans, that sort of thing. They were just having their money not in direct ISK, and that's how they saved a lot of it. And it wasn't like but that was mostly at like a line member level. That wasn't really like a. So
well,
I have to go.
No, that was an overarching like goal of theirs. You saw that a couple weeks before the big mass ban happened, that all these keep stars started being donated. All these Titans and Supers started appearing in terms of just overpaid for Supers and Titans. I mean, at one point, I think Tissue was handing them out to anybody that wanted one for Supers and Titans. And I think that's why, Mittens, they're so apprehensive to use them. Because they don't have a way to replace them.
Because they won't be able to get them back. Yeah.
Right. They have all these free things they were given.
For reimbursement.
Yeah. Right. It's like going on the test server, during the old Armageddon days, where everyone had 100 million billion skill points and everyone could buy a Titan. They all got given that Titan and the Plex to make the Titan possible through skill injectors. But now the faucet's off, right? They can't instantly replace this. I know GOTG can't for 100%. Maybe NC can. Maybe NC. But I don't think
we can lose a
could.
minimum. We can lose a minimum of 3 Titans for every single hostile Titan that we kill at our current delve time unit rates. So, you know, the fact that we can replace our stuff at such a cheap rate and the bad guys can't because they have no econ, essentially, is fantastic. So,
I think that's a great way to look at this war, right? It may be seen as North versus South, like hemispheres, but it feels like the South are economically stable. Horde still rats and mines in supers and war cults, even though they're facing all this pressure. You know, Brave is out there in war cults. Goons are out there in war cults. Initiative mines and rats and supers and war cults. Whereas the North, you're not seeing that. You're not seeing Tino full of all these ratters and miners because PL went south. You're not seeing cohesion in doctrines. You're seeing a mix of everything. One last thing to point out, we didn't get to talk about this last week before we go here. Hard Knocks wiped out Ranger Regiment. They're blue in essence. Blue in this war in the South. Ranger Regiment is part of GOTG. They're fighting in the North to help stabilize GOTG, while Hard Knocks and such fight in the South and got trapped in UALX. So you're seeing these groups that are willing to kill each other at the moment's notice if they don't find content in the war that they're currently in. So that's just, I don't like that idea of allies.
This sows there's this bad blood between them, isn't it? Like at the end of the day, if a few Rage Regiment dudes got their Titans killed, they'll be less likely to go on ops that are going south to work with Hard Knocks, and it just
it makes animosity.
Yeah.
And you don't. And I want to talk about this. I'm trying to find a way to talk about this going forward, but I think EVE works in cycles, and the reason it works in cycles every couple of years is that the line members who are building this animosity right now, who are being told, hate this guy, hate this guy, hate this guy, in 2 or 3 years, they become the leadership. They start to take over for bitter vets. Now you have people who have built animosity for years and years and years towards a certain group because of what's happened to them by that certain group, and that's when a new war starts. Because now you have the guy who's the CEO or the guy that's the head diplo going, fuck you, I hate you, you're going to die. We saw this with PL. PL used to work really well with us back in the day versus Bob. But their line members would constantly have these like little skirmishes and like hate fights with the old Northern Coalition. And then those line members became leadership, and the old Northern Coalition got wiped out. You're seeing that now here, where the line members of all of these different groups are now fighting Test because they were told for years and years, fuck Test, we hate Test. Fuck Test, and now you're seeing that. So I think that's a situation you end up seeing a lot in this game.
All right. Well, speaking of situations,
yes,
that you see a lot
we're out of time.
We are out of time, so I want to thank everybody. It's good to be back, and I appreciate getting a chance to smug with all of you at great length. It's been a good day for smug, at least in Imperium land. So thank you all very much, and we will be back next week. I'm not traveling for a while, so awesome.
We'll be back. Yep. See you guys.
Thanks, guys.
You are about to receive messages that may be harmful to your mental state. Your sense of reality will be questioned. Your view on things will be altered. You are now part of the meta. The meta controls everything. The meta determines what will and will not happen. You are watching The Meta Show.